Welcome to the Here and Now show. I am your host, Lavonda Ray. Thank you for tuning into the Here and Now show. I'm sorry. I don't know where that comes, so thank you for tuning in. And if you tuned into my show, you know that I'm coming from the Show Me State where we come in, show out, and show up. Gotta love your city. And if you come in from the Midwest, you know that the Here and Now show is a show where I've taken real life events and changed them into a positive living. If you have any questions or any comments, feel free to leave in the message box. So with that being said, let's start the show. So welcome back. Thank you. I feel blessed and you should feel blessed. I'm so glad to be here this early, right? This is Friday. We made it through the week, and if this is your first time joining, welcome to the family because on the Here and Now show, we show love, we heal together, it's real people, real life situation, real life events. Your voice matters, all voices matters. So today is No Topic Friday. Um, if you guys were been joining me for since I started my journey. By the way, this is my relax and read cup. Yeah, you could purchase this at the Marshall's Books and More. However, if you tune into the Here and Now show, you know that my show airs on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And every once in a while, I'll come back on a Friday or a Saturday and just sit back and chill. So today, I want to welcome you all. Those that are listening and those that will be listening. Today's all about you guys. It's open mic, and the mic is open. But as you guys know, if you've been in with me, you know that I like the little jazz. So we're going to play a little jazz before we get into it. Um, Today's topics, it's no topic. I'll be asking questions. You guys could ask me questions. If you have something you want to say, feel free to say it. So with that being said, today's open mic. Let's jazz for a moment before we get into it. Welcome back, you guys. I am glad to be here on this Friday morning. If you guys been tuning in to me, you know that I air Tuesdays and Thursdays, every Tuesdays and Thursdays. But I tell you guys something, if you guys were looking for me yesterday, you probably like, where's she at? Where's she at? Life was life. And I talk about how life be life in us all the time. Well, it needs to say, I had some car issues. Yeah, isn't it crazy? You get a car, and right when you get one thing fixed, another thing breaks, and it's like, oh, so I had the simple things done to my car. I had the oil change, the tune up, and then I get this done, and I'm still driving my car, right? And as I'm turning my car, I keep hearing this, and I'm thinking, I'm not an expert on cars. I'm telling, the person in the car with me, which is my cousin, I'm telling them, I'm like, hey, something sound like it's wrong with my axle, right? The axle of my vehicle. But, I don't know. I'm not a mechanic, but I could just tell when I would turn left that the car would just make this sound. And then I noticed, when I'm at stoplights, my car would shake like, so I'm like, okay. So I Google it, right? Again, I'm not a mechanic. I Google it and it says, in fact, that your axle could be going bad or is bad if it's having A, B, and C symptoms. And my car was having A, B, C symptoms. Well, speed pass, that was a sign, and you should always pay attention to those signs, okay? Um, but I was still riding it. I'm riding like I have no worries, like I'm not riding on the bad axle, but I'm riding, okay? Because I got to get where I got to get, right? And sometimes, God has to show you, hey, you already know pretty much that your axle's broke. You probably shouldn't be driving the car because safety first. Well, am I such a good listener? Sometimes I don't listen. I'm not perfect. And by the way, this is not coffee. This is my favorite Pepsi in here. And I designed this cup. Relax and read. You can do it. Hashtag Marshall. If you're interested, I have t-shirts, cups, mugs. The Here and Now My Here and Now merchandise will be out on my birthday, the 25th of September. A child is born, and also be bringing in that brand. And so, as I'm saying, back to it, like I said, today's no particular topic. We're just talking and moving. You know, so I'm told, Axel, I know this, right? I'm driving my car as I did prior, you know, weeks prior, days prior. I'm driving yesterday and I'm driving. And as I'm coming down my street, all of a sudden it sounds like my brakes just went to shit, right? And they go, grrr, and it's grinding. So I'm like, now I have a brake problem. I just had my brakes done last year. Why is it? And I can feel it under the gas pedal, right? I can feel this grinding. So like, here's my house, and here's me. God is great. So I get to my house and I'm like, oh, I gotta turn around because on my street you can either go straight and then you gotta come back around to park the way that I want to park in front of my house. So I get out of my car and ask my cousin, I'm panicking. I'm like, hey, I'm almost in tears because my baby, that's my car, right? I'm like, can you put my car a little closer to the curb? Now, when he gets in there, thank goodness, gets in there and he pulls the car closer to the curb, and I'm seeing shit just the tires just shaking like a leaf. Oh my God, my passenger left side tire just shaking, 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 shaking. Needless to say, I need to replace my axle, so it broke. Like right in front of the house. So, am I blessed to be okay? Yes, God is good. Um, is my car okay? Yes. Will it be fixed? Yes. Will it take about a week or two? Yes. So yesterday was a little crazy for me. And, one thing about, when you're on the Here and Now show for me, my show, even on those bad days, I talk about those days where I just feel like everything is one thing, then it's another, and it's another. And you should never say, oh man, what can happen next? Don't say that because guess what? Something might happen next. So don't speak that into existence. And I was saying that, and I'm like, oh man, what's gonna happen next with my car? No, don't say that because nothing's next. This is it. The axle's gonna be the only thing you get it fixed, and it's gonna be it you know. So I apologize for allowing life to stop me for a moment because I was so, in tune to my vehicle. Time got past. It's not an excuse. It's logical. It's reasons. It's the truth. Um, so yeah. So I do apologize if you guys were looking for me. I we're going through some things, but I'm out of it because I always circle back. I'm gonna always come back home. I'm always gonna come back to this space because here, it's a healing. You know, real life events, things happen. And sometimes, there are some moments where you feel like you can't just talk to certain people. So, come to my space, come over here with me, tell me what you're thinking. Because again, this is open mic Friday. It's about you guys. I'm just going to be here for a little while. And if you guys have any questions or any comments, feel free because it's about you guys. Because I love my subscribers, my listeners, my viewers, those that like and subscribe, and those that keep been rocking with me from day one, and those who just started rocking with me. It is a wonderful, blessed feeling because, you know, doing a podcast is not easy. You know, there are moments where there's a whole lot of views and there's a whole lot of comments, and then there's a moment when there's none, and that's what keeps me going too. Because the good moments are you guys, and my subscribers and my likes and my views is the reason why I continue to keep doing this because there's no stopping. Right? This is really great. I love Pepsi. Now, is it the healthiest thing to drink in the morning? Absolutely not. Is it my favorite thing to drink in the morning? Absolutely. I guess it's just my crazy things that something that would be hard for me to stop. What is something that is something, some type of food that or drink that would be hard for you who's listening if you care to answer it? What would be hard for you to let go? Like you cannot have this no more. What would that be for me? Like I just said, for a beverage, it would be totally Pepsi. It's so hard. Pepsi is so bad for you, but it's so good, right? Actually, I can't say it's. I think it's so great, but my youngest daughter, she every once in a while she'll get into my cup. She want to sip Pepsi, and she's like, "Ah, Pepsi's so nasty. How can you drink it?" Ah. So not everybody likes Pepsi. One thing about Pepsi, it's just a refreshing drink. I'm big on lemonade. But if there was a drink that they said, "Hey, you can no longer have," it would probably be my Pepsi. They said I couldn't have that no more. And then as far as food, if you know me, I love seafood. So if they was like, "You can no longer, have this seafood," and I would probably be sad. Just saying. Again, open mic. I've been here for 10 minutes. I don't know if everyone is sleeping. And it's okay. It's Friday. You made it through the week. I mean, today I just kind of wanted to have no agenda. No specific agenda, no topic. Just probably laugh a lot, right? But however, again, if you have any questions or if you just want to tell me something, I'm listening because it's about you guys today, my listeners, my viewers, my subscribers, because, I'll tell you guys about myself because, you know, uh, I am me, so you guys know that I write my books and I publish them. I design my own brand for clothes, cups, mugs. And again, the Here and Now merch will be out on my birthday. So, September 25th, I will be birthing the Here and Now clothing for the podcast. I think that the clothing brand that I'm birthing is beautiful. Well, probably because I produced it, I made it. So I think that my works is excellent. I think that for all of you guys that do subscribe and that likes tuning into me and that support me, getting that T-shirt or that mug, that cup, or whatever you desire to support would be great. So, I was thinking like questions. A question that I was asked, someone asked me, what was something funny that, okay, no, okay, no, I'm sorry. Eep, sound like I what would don't need money. No, sound like I just kind of lost myself there for a minute. But now, uh, I'm back. It's called mistakes. The question was, what is something funny that happened that made you laugh today? Hmm. Well, I'm going to talk about something that made me laugh today as early as this morning. Now, it could be something that your child said to you, or something that you heard a child say. Something that just tickled your little belly, that just made you laugh. Like ha, that was funny. So something that made you laugh today. For me, my answer would be so. Earlier today, this morning, this is something. Again, the question was, what's something that makes you laugh, that made you laugh today or this morning. And I'm up, and my grandson, he's eating his breakfast, and I'm in my room, right, and I'm rehearsing my show, right. I'm going over like, do I want to air it today? What should be the topic, right? I'm going through all these questions out loud, right. And he comes in and he's like, "Why are you talking to yourself?" Right. And I laughed. And I said, "Oh, my, guess that looked kind of weird." I'm in here talking and answering myself. So I said, "No, actually, I was thinking out loud, right? Now I'm dying on the inside because I'm like, I was actually having a very much intelligent conversation with myself. I was like, "Hey, I'm thinking out loud. Children are so funny." Um, Another question is, what was your funniest awkward moment? Oh my, I've had so many of them. Um, it's one of those awkward moments where you look back and be like, "Oh, that was awkward," or "Oop, that kind of embarrassed me a little bit." I don't know about you guys, but I remember a couple of moments that I was like one of those awkward moments. You ever see someone in traffic that you think is someone else, and you be like, "Hey," and then they look at you, and it ain't them, but they're looking at you like you thinking you like, "Oh, I should have spoke to you." But have you ever done that? Spoke to somebody else and thought it was somebody else, but it really was somebody else. It wasn't who somebody thought it was. Or one time, true story, I was in the Walmart store line, right? And I'm standing there, and you ever think someone's talking to you and they're actually not? Oh man, that'll humble your ass real quick, right? So I'm sitting there standing in the line, and there's this man behind me or whatever. Nice looking man, by the way. That's neither here nor there. But like he's standing there behind me, right? Waiting in line like myself. And she says something, I think he said, not to me, but I thought he was talking to me. I thought he said, "How you doing?" And yeah, that's what I thought. He said, "Hey, how you doing?" And I turn around like, "Oh gosh, blink! I'm doing. Oh shit, you're on the phone." But that was embarrassing. So that was one of my funny, awkward moments. If you have one, you could tell me. Like I was embarrassed because I'm like start a conversation with someone that I thought was talking to me, and they totally was not talking to me at all. They were actually on their phone. Another question was, what's the funniest thing a child has ever said to you? Well, I'll tell you, because children ain't got no filter. They have none. They have none. But uh, a child told me, you're not old. You're just like close to retirement. Oh, what the hecky? What the hell just happened? What the hell, Leonte? I'm just. That's not a compliment, but in a child's eyes, that was such a compliment to say you're not old, you're just close to retirement. Oh my God, no. Kids say the damnest things, but that's why we love them. So, do you guys have any plans for the weekend? It's Friday. Some of you guys are still at work. Some of you guys are off work. So, for myself, I don't really have any weekend plans to. So I'm sorry for that little interaction there. So if the internet got a little off, it's because my phone was ringing. So you guys, this was a little moment for me just to come back and let you guys know that you guys are important and that I appreciate, you guys coming into the Here and Now podcast, for the moments that we're having our deep, serious, fun, but real life conversations. And it's a blessing to be able to essentially come here 2 days out the week, sometimes three, and just give my love, try to give a little knowledge. Because the one thing about us as people, as human beings, we all bleed, we all cry, we all, life will have you up, life will have you down, but it's all about how you get back up, because you're going to go through it, you're going to have your crushing moments in life where it just feels like everything is crushing down. And, mine was, I've been there where my life was feeling crushed, and if it wasn't one thing, it's another. But through that whole struggle, I've always kept my faith. And so you have to always remember that when you're going through the storm, it doesn't feel good going through it. It's like, you know, more storm, more storm. It does never feel good when you're experiencing it, right? But the one thing about the storm will end and how you come up after the storm. Because see, we can, you can be, down about things and try to figure it out and understand you're not going to figure everything out in one day. You're not supposed to. Sometimes you got to let go. Not sometimes, the things you don't figure out, that it is beyond your control, you let go and you let God, if that's what you believe in. And if you don't, you let go and let whoever your spiritual belief is, and let it go, because you can't carry that on your own. You can, but I like to tell you, you're not going to make it far. No man's an island. And if you've ever heard that statement, no man is an island, is that we all need somebody. We all need somebody sometimes. you know, and saying that no one's an island, no man, meaning not a man, not a woman, you're not an island. You can own islands, but it's very lonely to be on an island all by yourself because we need that, So just remember that even though because life has chapters, right? Or as essentially we have seasons, right? And you'll go through like chapters of your life where you're a teenager and no, let me start back. Where you're emerging as a child going through elementary, right? So now you're mainstreaming in life, right? And then you start to go from being in single numbers to double football numbers, right? And that's pretty much your football numbers. You start to kind of take everything that life's given you and take it into the reality world. All the stuff that you learn in school, they're not teaching you that for the here and now. They're teaching you that for, yes, here and now, but also for the future. They're essentially forming you for the world. And once you get so now you done passed, 12 through 15. Now life is a little bit challenging. You got to go through the 15 to the 21, maybe even 25. And that's your growth stage. You're growing, and you're learning, right? And then by the time you're in your 30s and in your mid 40s, hitting to your 50s, you would have enough experience and enough knowledge and understanding on how to take your life into things that you were learning in school. If you were in school and you was a really good singer, or you was really good in math, and you kept on feeding that goodness in you, and then now at 40, 50 years old, you're so successful because you took that beautiful thing and you left it there, and you kept growing and growing and growing and growing, and that seed just kept going because life is all about experiences and phases. You know, you wonder, when you get this age, you're not going to think the same way you did when you were 18 that you're going to think when you're 25, or that 25 that you think like when you're 40, or when you're in your 40s, you don't think like you do when you're in your 60s because you have all these life experience. You have all these opportunities every day that you wake up and go to sleep. Last night might have been a bad night, or it might have been a great night. Whatever the kind of night it is, you woke up and you're able to strive again. Because for me, I was in my emotional box about my car. That's normal. That's what happens when you get vehicles. You got to put into them and put out of to keep it going, just like life. You got to keep giving, 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 going, 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 going. You cannot. The moment that you decide to pause on your dreams or your goals, you can't. So that's why I said the moment you stop, don't stop. Don't stop. Yes, you breathe, yes, you take a breath, and you thank God. But if it's something you really want out of life and you want it, you got to be getting up every day, getting that shit like a dog. You got to be on it like flies on shit. You just got to be on it. You got to get it. You got to get it. You got to do what you got to do because there's only one of you unless you have a twin, and there's still only one of you. You can make your footprints in the sand. You definitely can. You can do anything. The thing about being young is that you have so many opportunities if you're blessed to make it over 18 or even to 21, and that the lifestyle that you grew up, because like I said, some people, they grew up in chaos and they didn't know how to get out of chaos until they seen life without chaos. you know just because you grew up that way. It doesn't mean you have to stay that way. So we keep on going. And so, again, I appreciate, all you guys for being here. I've been here on 24 minutes. There's not been a lot of people today, and I get it. It's Friday. People, getting in and off work or going to work, or, you're off for Thursday. You're kind of sleeping it in. I get it. I understand. I see you, and I completely get it. So, with this being said, I want to leave you guys with the relax and read. Got my little lipstick on there. Um, and this is also my brand. This can be not only this cup, but several other mugs. I have cups, I have mugs, I have t-shirts, hoodies, pretty much anything that you would need to relax and read, baby. And you can find this on Marshall's Books and More on my website, where you can purchase the item and it'll tell you exactly about delivery, etc., etc. And again, on September 25th of next month, a child is born again. Me. It's my birthday. I will be branding and birthing my brand of the Here and Now podcast merch. I think it's going to go great. I'm really excited about it. And I hope you guys are excited too. And also, always remember you can purchase all my books also at Marshall's Books and More, or you can tap me in at Amazon.com for my latest Missing My Daughter Ava, book 3. Finally got that book done with. It took me about a year to finish altogether. A half a year, not actually a year. So that's kind of over saying that. Probably took me about 10 months, so close to a year. So good. Thank you guys for those that tune in. Thank you for coming into the Vibe Moment. Vibe It Out Friday, open mic. So with that being said, I'm going to get off this air. I appreciate all of you guys. Feel free to correspond afterwards. Have a blessed morning. Enjoy it. Life is good.